Sorry about that. Had a phone call. So, essentially, I had to rethink how I want covenants to affect the weapon, and instead of us having to pick a covenant or all the covenants to suddenly work with us, um, when we first get into the Shadowlands, we're in the mall running from the jailer and whatnot. We take that stone thing instead of the stone taking us directly to where we went to Orbos, we go to the rune carver's room for some reason. We end up there. And through some interaction with the rune carver, we end up with a rune representing each of the covenants, so 4 runes in total, on our weapon. And then we are encouraged to hit the stone again, and that's when we end up in Orbos. Now we have a weapon that has we're a living mortal in this place of the undead, where the place of the spirits go, land of the dead, and we have a symbol for each of the major factions in in Shadowlands. So this immediately lets us gain some kind of reverence, like, okay, this is different. Sure, we'll work with you because you just came in with these symbols on your weapon, and you can mall walk, you can use these magic stones that none of us can use. Yeah, but as we still go through the whole unlocking each zone one at a time, like we did in Shadowlands. As we do that, we basically get that rune empowered, which gives us the same abilities gives us the different abilities and whatnot that we would have if we chose that covenant as our main covenant. So by doing the quest line that gets us to the next zone, we unlock that rune for that zone we just completed, which gives us the powers. And then once we get all 4 sets of powers, instead of choosing a covenant to follow and have that be the main covenant we do stuff with until we complete the storyline, we are able to do stories in any order we want to, all together, do the reputations all together, and each faction gets its own secondary stat. It represents mastery, vitality, haste, and critical strike. Or critical strike. And that's how the more you upgrade that one reputation, you get a higher percentage of that secondary stat added to your character. So it lets you focus on which ones you do first and which ones you care more about. Of course, this will also increase the active powers like the spirits that you get for Octanville, and whatever else you got for the other ones. That all-in damage button, or the button that increases how much damage you can potentially do or healing you can potentially do. You get that increased by just upgrading the reputation. The weapon will get stronger based upon your overall reputation level. So if you have 5 in one, 6 in another one, 3 in another one, and 10 in the last one, you'll get every time you level up at all for any of those, you'll get your weapon becomes stronger. So the overall stats of the weapon become strong with it, by your character becomes strong by you doing any reputation growth at all, which is great. You still have to feed anima into the respective covenant holes, just like you did in the main story. But that's beside the point. So, taking that idea and moving it on to Dragonflight, you beat the Big Bag Jailer with this weapon that's pretty much the power of all 4 covenants working together, which was the whole point of the big storyline, was all the covenants working together. But you use the 4 covenant powers to win the day. So Dragonflight comes around, and that's when you go back to the mortal world, and suddenly of course, the Shadowland powers don't carry over very well. The weapon the overall stats on the weapon will hold and stay there, but you'll lose the extra powers because you're no longer connected to the Covenant. Now they can move it over the Covenant powers over to the talent tree like they did before. That's fine. They can do all that, but still keep the artifact powers. Now the artifact weapon, we're working with the stats and everything else. The Shadowland powers go inert from the weapon. Moving on. So this is where the four of the five aspects kick in by just doing the main quest line and everything else, and helping the factions. We will get a scale from each of the aspects, and that would just be added to a weapon. Those would be held on to for a little bit because they'll just do little passives here and there when you're doing, like, the bronze dragon will increase haste, Ysera's will increase spirit, or mastery or something like that. Just mana regeneration or resource regeneration from the blue dragons, health regeneration from the red dragons, and for Ysera's green dragonflight, it will increase. I don't know. I don't know. Gathering material stuff. I don't know. It'll probably just increase overall critical chance. Let's go ahead and do crit. No, not crit chance. I guess restoration. No, Ysera will probably be health based, and the red dragonflies probably be critical. So essentially, we're gonna tie a secondary stat to each of the four dragonflights right now. There's a flat stat that will increase. That just give you a flat increase of your secondary stats. Nothing major, just something based upon what you're doing at the time. So if you're healing, you get more healing. You get more mana back, stuff like that. I'm not worried about what the scales do at the very moment. They're coming in later with the black dragon scale as well when they finally decide the aspect. So moving on to what is actually going to power up the weapon. In the Dragon Isles, you're doing that Titan tier quests. You're dealing with all these other little factions that all have renown. We're caring about renown. Instead of having it where the renown ties to the weapon, the renown will let you unlock artifacts you can find throughout all of throughout all the Dragon Isles that you're able to upgrade your weapon with. Because mind you, we essentially have 4 to 5 slots in our weapon right now. They have the scales in it. As we find these ancient artifacts, we're able to start augmenting our weapon to suit our power. So essentially, we're unlocking a secondary tree line for our weapon. It won't be as big as the Legion tree line, but it's still going to require time to unlock everything. For instance, we can use each dragon scale will unlock part of the tree that will allow us to upgrade down a certain path. That's the point of the dragon scales. The renowned stuff lets you unlock materials and unlock quest lines that let you get stuff to put points into this dragon tier tree. So you have your 4 aspect scales, and you can put points into them in different orders, just like the crafting tree. So you can still have you can have the four first dragon scales focus purely on a secondary stat. If you want to, you can throw Ysera into Spirit just for the hell of it. But the secondary stat system probably isn't as important for the dragon scales as it would be for the covenants. So you have moving on from there. You're using renown with the different factions to unlock quest lines and materials to help you complete different things to augment your weapon through the scales. So essentially, you're augmenting the scales which power up your weapon and empower you. So that's how you're getting more powerful as we go on. By the time we get the 5th scale, we'll get a 5th tree that is a 5th tree available for you to put points into. Because this was done in a later patch, it's gonna you either have one or two trees already maxed out or close to being maxed out, and a few points here and there. So you can also focus on the black dragonfly tree. The black dragonfly trees will be more about tankiness, making you harder to kill, which is fantastic for PvP, hardcore dungeons, stuff like that. So you can have each dragonfly focus on a different thing. Like blue is cooldown reduction, casting speed if you suppose you cast, and resource making things cheaper to cast, essentially cheaper to use, cheaper for rage and whatnot. You can have red focus purely on dealing burst damage and also getting heals off of something you do. Well, basically spell vampirism and life drain stuff like that. Life steal, but it's life regeneration, stuff like that. Time one's gonna be focused more on attack speed, casting speed again. So they're gonna overlap between each other because I would need to sit down and actually draw all this stuff out, which I'm not a game designer and I don't claim to be, but I do think that this would have been a better option to do instead of just us not having any borrowed power, is to get power bar from the aspects that it ties to a weapon we carried with us for now 4 expansions at this point, if the artifact weapon was brought over to begin with. But essentially, as we level up and everything else, we get a 6th scale, which is going to be the Frost Primal Pro-Drake Dragon, Elemental Dragon thing. That one. And that one is purely for raid. It will increase our overall ability to do raid stuff. It will just decrease AoE damage to us, allowing us to take bigger chances of raiding. But that gets unlocked through completing different tiers of the raid. So if you do an LFR, you get an item that lets you unlock a part of the one stack of that tree. Essentially, once you get to Mythic and you complete on Mythic, you get one more stack of the tree, which gives you a skin for your weapon. That's only available if you did that on Mythic. Easy enough to do, right? So, moving on from that to War Within. So War Within happens, and we can have a weapon break. Essentially, we have the void entity that is running around causing all this mayhem with the Nerubians. We fight her in Dalaran, and she shatters our weapon. She just snaps it, whether it's in her hand snapping it or whatnot. I do realize that she came from the priest weapon, Shadow Priest weapon, but that very well could have been a little interaction instead of Rathian doing it. It's a priest, it chooses a random priest and have them run up and do the cinematic stab. That'd be kind of cool, but you still keep the weapon, this new old god inside of it. But essentially you take that and she breaks the weapon. If she sees the priest dagger that had her imprisoned, she'll make a comment and snap that in half too. She doesn't need that. So now your weapon's broken and it's thrown back at you. She breaks it and essentially teleports away. You're encouraged to pick up the pieces because Cat Girl wanted to say, correct the hero. Your weapon will be broken, but we might still be able to fix it. Quickly grab the pieces. You grab the pieces, throw them in your bag, and now you're weaponless. You're using a temporary weapon or using the broken hilt of this weapon, something. You might most likely use a temporary weapon until you get to the earthen area. From there you're using whatever weapons they give you. So you don't have your artifact weapon usable right now. Until you unlock a certain quest line at max level, or after you unlock all the zones. And then that's give you a quest, reforging the artifact. And you go there, you do this quest line, you bring the artifact weapon that's broken, in this case multiple artifact weapons. You bring the artifact weapon that's broken. You bring the Heart of Azeroth, but that's still inert because you drained all the power. All the shards you have for the Heart of Azeroth. You bring. You're encouraged to go get some power, get some anima from, or I think Shadowlands portals are closed entirely. Um, uh, you know, you might have to just get you might just have to get someone who was touched by the Shadowlands. So you might have to go. I think the Shadowlands powers are the only ones you can't really get back. Huh. Neat. They'll just pull power from your soul. I guess that'll work too, and then you'll also have the the scales with the weapon from Dragonflight will still be with the weapon too. And essentially, they're gonna ask you're gonna go out, find some material, get some more power, get some power to some machines, and you're gonna do this big old quest and everything else, and your weapon will be reforged in a new form. So, for instance, Scythe of the Loon snapped in broken pieces. It gets repowered up by the Titan's magic, mixed with all the other different magics, and the power of Azeroth itself. Whatever the power of Azeroth is at this point, because it might be getting corrupted by Void or Fel, whatever. And from there, we're able to just get basically a brand new artifact weapon. It still has all our passives and everything else, but now they're all condensed down into one thing that you click and it's good to go. Or we will see the entire tree expanded out, but now we have a way to augment those abilities, or we just get a new skill tree entirely for just a weapon tree entirely just for the weapon, because it's been reforged now, allowing us to have new abilities, and if it was tied to, well, the War Within themes. Because the War Within just started, it's hard for me to actually pick out what themes should go with it. But ultimately, I think it would be a great concept if the artifact weapon were carried over into the other expansions. It would have been, doing that would have been a great, just like I said, constant, a way, because Legion gave us a way to constantly increase our power reliably and under our control. Moving on to Beta for Azeroth, it would have gave us ways to augment the power in different ways, increasing our abilities and also giving more of a reason to go farm something, because we're gonna go after this one crystal, but we have multiple ways to get the crystal. So it's not that you need this one crystal for your build, but it's only available in this one piece of content. The drop rate is stupidly low. Well, now you have 3 ways to do it every day if you wanted to, so you're bound to get it eventually. Stuff like that. And then Shadowlands have been anything involving Shadowlands had to be a hard rewrite of the entire storyline, because come on, not that bad, not that good. But yeah, overall, that's how I would do artifact weapons if they were continued into every expansion, becoming our new backpack or something like that. I think I'm going to cover another aspect of borrowed power, which are the tier sets, in another video. I have to look at that and see exactly what I want to do with that. Anyway, have fun.